Welcome, everybody, and thank you for being here. And we have a big audience. It's lovely. How many people are here? Is this their first poetry reading ever? Wow, welcome. Well, we hope that you'll want to come back to 1 million more. So anyway, so I have a little selection. I was trying to think of a theme for today, so I figured, well, I write a lot of poems about motherhood and food, actually, which go together a lot. So I figured a week from now is Mother's Day, and I would do a little mothers. How many mothers in the audience? Okay, enough, and we all have a mother somewhere out there. So I'll read 3 poems from Air Kissing on Mars to start it off about mothers. The first poem is called Different Mothers. I've read about the ones who garden, teach their daughters to cut a rose just above the thorns, so a fresh bud will pop up like toast in time for breakfast. These different mothers show their daughters how to plant tomato seeds in the damp earth, tingle when the first green fruit appears, and when they explode into deep red, pick them off the vine, slice them in their sunny kitchens. These are mothers whose daughters learn through smells of lakes, weeds, pastry dough, have memories of lightning bugs in jars mothers have poked holes into. These are different mothers. I am not one. My mother didn't know about soil or earthworms. City mothers, we know about bus routes, restaurants, Broadway, the people on the 8th floor. Mine taught me to accessorize, bring the ideal hostess gift, have my keys in hand when I enter the building. I have no daughter, but my son can look anyone in the eye, tell them what he's thinking. We eat tomatoes from the grocery. Our roses are store-bought. Different mothers sound better. I think about what might have been, calling to the birds, naming the stars, fingers locked together while hiking on hidden trails, cleaning homegrown mint before placing it in tea before bed. I'll flag a cab instead. I grew up in New York City, so what can I tell you? So now we'll move to Rattle, and this is, I don't see this one here, Tim.
There's one copy.
Oh, there's one copy for some lucky person. And this is a poem I had in Rattle that will also be in the new book, Slice of Moon. And I don't write like political poems, but I think this maybe was the first one I ever wrote. And it has a bad word in it. Is that okay? If I read that here?
Just read a
I know there's a lot of
quiet from the children's section.
Oh, whisper the
Back away from the microphone.
Yeah, okay. It's called Why People Really Have Dogs. You ever wondered? People really have dogs so they can talk to themselves without feeling crazy. Take me, for example, cooking scrambled eggs, ranting about this dumb fuck who sent naked pictures of himself to strange women, a politician from New York. I read about it in the paper, start telling my nervous cockapoo, blind in one eye, practically deaf, so I have to talk extra loud, all about it. And he's looking at me, poor thing, like he thinks I'm the smartest person he's ever heard, and I go on, him tilting his head, and when he sees me pick up my dish of eggs, he starts panting and wagging his tail. I tell him, no, they're not for you, but then I break down and give him some, knowing full well that feeding from the table is rule number 1 of what you don't do with dogs. But I do it anyway because he wants them so bad, because it makes me feel good to give him what he wants. And I expound more to make sure he's aware of the whole political scandal, the implications for the Democrats, the hypocrisy. Tell him dogs are rarely hypocrites, except when they pretend to be interested in you and all they want is your food. Take him, for example, right now pretending to love me so much when all he wants are my eggs. Me talking to him when all I want is to say my opinions with no one interrupting. Feel my voice roll out on a clear Saturday morning. Listen to it echo from the kitchen to the bath, up through the ceiling, out to the sky, the voice from within, all alone in the morning, as the light outside catches the edge of the silver mixing bowl where the remaining uncooked eggs sit, stirred, ready to toss into the pan, cooked, eaten by whomever pretends to want them. Do you guys talk to your dogs?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Just checking. And then we'll move along. I think that was the only poem without a mother in it, so that was like a little welcome relief for all people who don't really care about the mothers in the poems. So this poem is from this Rattle issue, right, the winter issue, and it's called How Was Your Weekend? So I'll tell you, I don't know if any of you take writing classes or I take a workshop every Saturday still. I love to be a part of the writing community in L.A. And so Terry Wolverton, who's our wonderful teacher, poet, person, gave us a prompt. We were all going to read at Skylight Books last April or 2 years ago. And the prompt was, how was your weekend? So we all had to write the poem for this title, How Was Your Weekend? And I got a very surprising poem out of it. How was your weekend? The lab technician asks me as she sticks the needle in my vein. Routine physical, blood rushing up the tube as if being chased out of my body. Fine, I tell her, all good, really good. Did some things, saw some people, ate out, got rid of shoes I haven't worn in years, craved ice cream, but had no one to go with, so I went by myself, embarrassed, ordering a mint chip cone alone in the middle of a Saturday. Got over it when I took a bite, euphoric, no longer caring that my son was too old to take for ice cream. Wrote a letter to my dead mother, but couldn't read it to her at her grave because we cremated her. So I read it sitting at the kitchen table, a photo of her propped up in front of me. Sounds amazing, she says, my blood still flowing up the tube, new one now as I'd filled up the first. Where will they send my blood? And how do they test for all the things they test for? And what if they discover I have one of a million diseases one could have, something to confine me to bed for as many days, weekends as I have left on this earth? Or what if they find nothing? Will I start to take pictures of my food like a friend of mine does? He takes pictures of what he's about to eat, so he'll remember what he put in his body. So if something goes wrong, he'll know it was the yellowtail swimming in lime sauce, or the ginger sorbet with one proud blackberry perched on top. He keeps files of photos, so he'll never forget what he tasted, what filled him. I want to taste the blood being drawn from my arm. Wonder if it would taste the same as my mother's. What did you do this weekend? She asks, forgetting she already asked. I had an ice cream cone, I tell her. Took a picture of it before it started to melt. Licked a drop of blood, still warm from a new cut. Read a letter to my mother at her grave. All right, I have two more poems, and these are going to be in the new book, Slice of Moon. More mother, more food. This poem is called Sardines. We go for Portuguese, my friend and I. Family restaurant by the beach. Nice tables. They bring olives without us asking. Even the bread tastes good. Do you like sardines? I ask her. I love those little chubby ones, come in a tin. They're brain food, you know, and great for your skin. So we tell the waiter, nice young guy, accent, wedding ring. And he delivers us 3 huge sardines. not looking like any we've ever seen, tails like fireplace brushes. We tackle these shining fish, open them, remove their delicate spines, fork out the salty meat, concentrate on each morsel, careful not to swallow the fragile splinters, like warnings on our tongues. Start to talk. What's new? Our boys all grown up, spit out what we don't trust, bones, words, seen it all, haven't we? If only we knew then, a sharp fragment sliding down my throat. Remember our trip to Catalina? We lost them in the soda machine room. Mine was only 3, for God's sake. We were frantic. Hotel people running around, walkie-talkies. I'm chewing faster, choking on pieces of fish face. My friend watching. It's the wholeness of sardines really turns me off, she says, pushing her plate as I scoop out the second eyeball, slip it into my mouth. It's the wholeness that excites me. Skin, guts, brains. I want to taste the murky world beyond my future. I want to eat what stares at me in darkness, what has already seen its own death. And when the waiter asks if we want dessert, if there will be anything else, I tell him yes. More eyes, please. I want to eat more eyes. Okie doke. That was a true story, too. My poems are all true. They're not. All right, I'm going to end with, it's baseball season. And I think the Dodgers are doing pretty well, although who cares anymore. This poem was written when Manny was still on the team. Okay, so, the poems take a while to surface up into the world of a book. Anyway, this poem will be the third to the last poem in the new book, and it's called Game Over. I squirted too much mustard on my hot dog, and now I can't eat it, I tell my friend at the game. That's what God made napkins for, he tells me. Wipe it off. I tell him I knew God made mustard, but I didn't know he also made napkins. I tell him once the mustard gets soaked up by the bun, it's game over. Even napkins won't help. He's disturbed. I can see in his face he's mad. I wasted a perfectly decent hot dog. And worse, now I'm doubting God. When did you stop believing in him? He asks me, his face twisted like a pretzel I'm about to put mustard on. Did I ever believe in God? Was God peeking through the window up there in Laurel Canyon when my son was conceived? Was he in my belly when they sliced it open so they could lift my baby out of his warm, private ocean? Was God in my son's hands when he pitched a perfect game at the pan? My friend's still talking. I was an altar boy, he continues. You don't forget the Eucharist, wearing the crisp cassock, snuffing out candles as the priest consecrates bread and wine. You don't forget ringing the bells until someone you love dies. Then it's game over. He tells me those things, our shoulders touching, as Manny hits deep into left field, the men on base running their hearts out, thousands in the stands praying, please God, please, get the run, win the game, as the mustard hardens on my cold dog, bun stiff, I slip it under my seat with God's blessing as the first man slides safely to home. Thank you.